My name is Dmitri, and I'm joined gaming industry 16 months ago. Before that, I worked in enterprise, and I was absolutely bored about working in enterprise because for all the companies with whom I was working, everywhere was the same. People were talking about risks and not really doing anything. So at some point I was retired, I get a lot of money, I did a lot of traveling, and I didn't know what to do next. I learned a new job, and I was ready to start it. And at some point I was offered the opportunity to work in Wargaming. And I also moved to Prague from Tallinn, capital of Estonia. I think like, wow, that's awesome opportunity. Sure, I'm a gamer myself. I finally have a chance to join a gaming company and work there. And then I actually was hired. I was told that I need to build a team of 30 people. And I was, wow, this is something I never did before. Having 30 people and work them successfully with only one lead. But my boss, he told me like, oh, well, don't worry too much. It's not a very complicated job. Guys just going to do some simple clicking. I said, okay, I think I can handle it. Well, but actually when I realized what it is about, it was a prototype of a new game. And it was not only about clicking, it was also about working with Linux server, working with networking, getting information from memory dumps. And I said like, okay, but we already hired people who don't have this knowledge. And we're not planning to, right at the moment, to hire people with such knowledge. And I have to do something about it. And so I looked back at my experience and, all right, in the past I had a lot of crazy ideas. I was not able to use any of them because I always working with managers who were telling me how to do my job. Well, thanks to my boss, he was traveling a lot. And he was not checking me every day what I'm doing and how. Then he finally get back. He asked me, so how the things are going? I said, well, here's the team. We are productive. We learned this. And he asked me, well, how you did it? And I said, like, well, this is my approach. And he said, well, this is not what I asked you for. And I said, all right, but I heard you want this result, and you have it right now. So why we are talking about how I'm doing this? So by that moment, team was, I think, just 7 people. And we were looking to hire more. And we hired more. And the problem which I get there, that the people who are working with me from the beginning, they learned a lot from me. They realized what we're doing, why we're doing this. And the next increment of the team, they hired 7 more people. And on my own, I was not able to share my vision, our vision, company vision to all of these guys. So I asked people who already worked with me, let's do this. And thanks to Simon Sinek, if any of you know Simon Sinek, can you raise your hand, please? Okay, just one guy. So Simon Sinek wrote a book which says, Start with Why, and in this book he's explaining that for people understanding why we are doing something is the most important thing. You probably heard Victor today on Open Speech, and he said why this company, I mean Wargaming, is doing what we're doing. We're doing it for the players. This is the answer for the question why. And we started to think how to share this to the guys, because just explaining them like this is why we're doing it, it's not working. Well, we spent hours in meeting rooms discussing this thing, and finally we came up with a slogan, which was saying, we are a group of individuals working together to make sure that players playing our games have best gaming experience. And guess what? To all the new people, it was not me who was sharing this vision. It was engineers who already worked. So we start to move forward, and thanks again to my boss, working with him, I always had this feeling that I have a right to fail, which is very important. Yeah, I heard today it really depends sometimes if it's a risk about $1 million, maybe you have to think. But when you're trying some small things, don't be afraid to fail. It's natural for people to learn by failing, by making mistakes. And it's really important for a manager, I better say not a manager, for a leader, to create this environment where people know that they have a right to fail. Agile. Well, I'm using this word, but one of my trainers actually said that Agile, it's not about ceremonies, it's not about roles, it's not about artifacts. It's about people, and it's about common sense, what these people have. Because if you are doing something, why are you doing this? So if you have a daily every day, why are you having this? Because in my past, a lot of people hated all these dailies, because for them, there is no difference between daily and a meeting, because they see no point in this. And I tried another thing. I allowed people to find for themselves why we need it. And guess what happened? Naturally, they realized it, and they were holding dailies for their own without me. Another thing, doing more and more job, we started to get more tasks. And sometimes we were getting assignments without any documentation, without any test cases. The things were just randomly dropped to us because it was prototyping phase. And there is a theory of rapid prototyping by James Buck. It says the first thing, if you want to test something, get your hands on this thing. It doesn't matter what it is. Is it just a calculator? Because if somebody is asking you, can you test a calculator? The simple answer will be, yeah, sure, I do. But there are so many different types of calculators. They can be physical, it can be applications, it can be something called from the past. Yeah, so, and some of the guys really like it, and this is what we applied to what we do, and to what we did. And guess what happened? Because of that, they were practicing this a lot, and at some point, we started to work on more prototypes, not like our main project, but as additional projects coming out from time to time. It was really awesome. So imagine there are opportunity for people work on the things which are absolutely new. Nobody were able to see this. They were able to, just guys, some of the guys was really young, without any background experience at all. It was their first job. And on this job, they have an opportunity to work with something absolutely new. And developers and producers were asking for their feedback as a gamers. So can you tell me, what do you think about this game? How they can improve it? I'm using this phrase, get the right people on the bus, a little bit differently how it sounded originally in the book. Because in the book it says, book by Jim Collins, From Good to Great. In the book it says, well, so imagine the thing you are doing, it's good, but you want it to be great. Get the right people into your team, like a boss, and start moving. We were in position where our boss was already moving. It was 15 people. It was 15 people, and we needed to hire 15 people more. And at that point, I realized that hiring the people with exactly the same set of skills, including soft skills, is not going to work. I needed to change the team a bit. I needed to hire people who can bring something not only about testing, not only about the games, but interacting. Well, I had a hard conversation with my boss when we were hiring 2 girls because the situation was like, we don't have IT skills at all. And I said, all right, you asked me to do this job, to build this team. I need these people in this team. So we finally get a full bus of 30 people riding. Guess what happened there? A profit. So how we saw it, how it was. It was a team who was constantly asking our customer, we need more assignments, we need more job. People learned automation by them naturally because they realized we don't want to do boring stuff. We don't want to waste our time on things which are repeatedly done from day to day. Let's automate them. We don't have automation specialists in our team. Let's learn it. How we can do it? Okay, there are 30 of us. Some people can take part of our job, so we can invest time into learning and create automation. What else happened? The team working on prototyping, they really appreciated our help, and they started to work with us regularly. They started to give us builds of prototypes every week. So at some point, instead of one project with only one lead, it was a project with 3 additional projects. And I was not able to manage all these projects, so I told the guys, here's an opportunity for you to learn something new. Want to try? And guys tried. A funny thing, some of them right now are still leading their own projects, being just junior engineers. Well, that's not the all. They did a lot of different things because looking back right now, I'm realizing the most important thing which we were trying to save is the passion for the games, because you're hiring people, they finally able to get into gaming company. When you see people in interview, their eyes, how they want to work. It's not about money. It's not about money. It's about, I'm going to work in a gaming company. How to save this passion. And I will start thinking about crazy ideas again. And we started to try all the different things, like playing at work, organizing some events. Because if we're going just to do simple testing from day to day, sooner or later, this passion will disappear. Well, somehow my speech went much faster than I was planning. Yeah. All right. In that case, so let me think and share something else what we did. Yeah.
Can I have a question?
Yeah, sure.
I would like to ask, you said that you were testing some projects where there was no documentation and no test trails at all, and you didn't know what to test exactly. So what you are thinking about, what you are doing in this case, you were making new test cases, or what was the way behind it?
It's not like, testing is not about test cases. Testing is not about test cases. I can tell you that sometimes in software development there is a situation. So people are they have a release candidate. In 2 weeks they have to release. They're testing, executing all their automations, do all the regression. Then it's day 0 and they found a critical bug. But all the things, all the money, they don't want to waste time. And on this day, they're doing sometimes so-called drop fix. And when they just appear in front of QA manager saying, I need your best people, they have 3 hours to test it. But kind of like testing is not about test trail. Testing is not about test cases. Testing is about know what this project built for and working with it. And I think it may even happen with the projects we currently work right now. Maybe not with releases, but maybe at some stages it can happen as well. Then it is critical. It's risking money. It's risking all the deliveries, a lot of teams involved. And you really rely on people. You get to people and said, guys, you really need to do your best. In order to do this, you really need to know how to work with a product. Without test cases, without documentation, because people working on prototypes, there are usually 2-3 guys. There are 2-3 guys. We're not wasting their time on creating any complex documentation, all the different meetings. We have a producer, and who has this idea, who is driving all this, and he has just 2 programmers. Did I answer your question? Yeah. Maybe someone else has questions. Yeah, sure.
Hi. It appears that you have such a big team of testers who are working for several different like developers. Why not building smaller teams like developers, a couple of developers and a dedicated tester? Does it make sense? Why it happened that the testers team is so big and like disconnected from developers, I would say?
Well, our team is a part of department which is called shared services, and that's the reason. So we are not working with one particular team. We are working with multiple studios on multiple projects. So we have multiple leads. Some projects are big, some projects are small. And for some projects, there is no need to have QA every day, especially for prototypes. So there is no need to build a dev team with QA. All right?
Thank you, Dmitri, for the talk. Yes, I wanted to ask, you were mentioning during the hiring process, sometimes you see that passion in the eyes of the people who's applying, and then it removes. It has happened to me in the past, and I want to ask if it has happened to you, that passion comes because there is people who is applying for QA roles, but actually their motivation is to be in the gaming industry in some other roles, like being artists or game designers and so on and so forth. If this has happened to you, how has you addressed that in the future for keeping that passion and that flame for QA?
Well, it's not a secret. It's not only in gaming. It's everywhere in IT. A lot of people using QA as a first step to move forward. And if I look back into what we did and what's happening right now, so we hired 30 manual engineers. Right now, we have 3 leads growing out. We have a team of people working in their free time on their own game. I don't know where it can go. So it depends only on the people. And if some people will stuck, if you not continue to keep this passion, at some moment you can lose these people. Because sometimes it really happens even if you have a great person. You have a great person, you paying him a really good salary, but he still leaves the company. Because in this company, for some reason, he lost his passion. Yeah, and kind of like, I think you all know this term, which is called burning out. So imagine a guy who is passionate about games, but his job at work, from day to day, test, let's say just one map over and over again. What is going to happen with this guy? If you're not going to try to keep his passion, if you're not going to find a new work for this guy, he's going to burn out and start looking for a new job. And you maybe even will miss it. Did I answer your question? Yeah, for me, I was in situations, it's really sad. So you're hiring a guy, he really wants this job, he's evolving, he's progressing, and then he's leaving. Yeah, but talking about our project, what happened, it was closed. It was closed. Some people left the company. Some people joined our projects. But most of them, they continue to do the cool stuff. They still working on their side projects. They still leading our projects, yeah. All right.
So what would you suggest to do if somebody burns out? I mean, if you see somebody burning out?
Well, what do you want his manager, his PM to do? I mean, to give him new tasks, but if there are no new tasks?
Well,
I mean, if there's a job that has to be done, and he's like the perfect candidate to do it, and he will do it the best.
yeah, so first thing, if the person burned out, you're not able to save the situation, it's too late. Either he will stay, but his production will be very low, or he's going to leave. You're not able to save the situation. Never in my life I saw that someone was able to save the situation. If you're going to give him bonuses, raise his salary, it's not going to work. There is kind of like no passion.
Vacation, maybe? For example, if somebody worked for like maybe 2 years without any vacation days.
Well, if you're leading people and some of your guys is not taking vacation, you already have a problem. As a manager, you have to force people to leave. If you have a really person passionate about your work, but he's kind of like working every day for 12 hours, your job actually to at 5 or 6 tell him kind of like better go home. There should be this balance between work and life. Yeah, but as a manager, well, sometimes it's a really good idea to put yourself into place of your engineer. So what if I'm going to do a simple repeated task from day to day? What is going to happen? If I'm going to be bored about it, how fast is going to happen? Well, all right, there are no new tasks. I'm not able to do I'm not able to give anything new to this guy. What is there our options? Okay, how can I change it? Well, maybe create environment where people, let's say it's 8 hours working day. I personally don't believe that anyone can work 8 hours per day. There are always some times during working hours taken by all the different stuff which may be not directly related to work, but reading emails, chatting with peers, discussing some things, they can take up 2-3 hours from the engineer. So there are let's assume there are 5 hours of pure testing. And you know that if person's going to do this testing for 5 hours every day, he's going to burn out. Well, try to mix it somehow. Like, go to this guy and tell him, if you feel bad, don't push yourself to this too much. Work for 45 minutes and have a break. It's not going to affect projects he's working on. Because if he will burn out, it will affect project. But this small investment of time into person, into his good feeling, it only depends to a manager. If, like I had a team of 30 people, so why not we are making games, we are gamers, come on, why not to play? We are able to invest 30 minutes of our working time to play our games. I don't think it's a problem.
Well, in a big team, it's not. But if, for example, one team that's responsible for something consists of 3 people, and there's not a lot of room for a margin like that, for a vacation, for a burned out man, for letting someone go on on a long vacation.
Well,
and if a manager doesn't see that, I mean, what's the solution?
I will try to guess. It was my first big team. All my previous team was like 6-7 people, and there was no such problem. But if I'm on this situation, where I have just 3 people, and I have a feeling that they're burning out, as a manager, I'm usually trying to learn my people. What are their interests? Like who they want to become, what they're interested in. And I bet you're able to find a solution, something what is interesting to people. Very often in the teams, people are not friends. They just go to work and do the job together. And they're leaving the office, somebody has a wife, somebody has, gym, they have their own interests. So, but you're still able to organize something for them to have fun. One of the things which we were saying during our job, we are here to do the job, make players happy, but we also want to have fun at the same time. If you have a team of 30 people and you put them, every single one of them in a separate closed room, I don't think they team. So if you have 3 guys and you think that one of them is burning out, work with them, talk with them, try to find solution. As a QA lead, yes, you're leading project, but at the same time, you're people manager. And it's your job to have conversations with your people. very often, I had a boss like this. What I'm trying to give you an example right now about, I had a manager and I had one-on-ones with them. But guess what? It was not about me, it was about reporting status. And my manager didn't know anything about my problems. And someday, I was finally brave enough to go to his manager and say, like, I'm not able to work like this anymore. I either leave or do something about it. It kind of like, it is up to the manager who's working with people, having conversations with them, and trying to understand what's going on. Another example, sometimes you're working with the people, and then he comes to you and says, like, all right, I have an offer. I want to leave in 2 months. Everything is great here, but I already have an offer. Maybe manager in some point just missed this. He don't want to lose this person, but it's too late. 6 months before, he missed a problem. Maybe people burning out, maybe person don't have for challenging tasks for him. So there is no simple answer. There is no simple answer. If it's up to me, I talk with the people. I heard a speech by Barnett today, and he said, I want to go to work with smile. This is what I want to do every day when I go to work. I want to get there with smile. I also want to see my people smiling when they get to work. And if one of my guys step into office and he's sad, I will try to find out what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Over.
Hi. You told us quite an interesting story about the self-evolving system with juniors that worked on 3 different projects. I want to know more about how did you manage to establish an education system and a knowledge sharing system between those guys? How did they manage to evolve themselves in educating one another?
Well, it started just with one phrase. I said to the guys, when we're going to hire next 7 people, I'm not going to tell them what to do. I will introduce you to the team. I will introduce them to the team, tell them about what is this job, and it will be up to you guys to share how to do this job. And naturally, guys, they created a lot of instructions. We were changing them a lot. At some point, they finished, we were just talking with people. They introduced things like pair programming, pair testing. They had another different stuff. They have guys who were called librarians, who was responsible for sharing experience, best practices, tips, and stuff like this. This is about engineers, newcomers, getting information about the project and how to do it. As for the guys who were leading, well, some things are natural, and they just happened. I started to lead the project. I was talking with the guys, but then there's a key engineer, and from my experience, it's always much more productive if you allow engineers talk with engineers, bypassing managers. And it happened with one of the studios. So it was me as a manager and manager from this studio. Right now, we just have 2 engineers working directly with each other. Sometimes I was in a situation I was not able to tell to my boss what's going on. I was able to say just like, well, everything is good. I don't know details, but everything is good. Because the guys, they found that for them to make this job more effective, they were chatting over Microsoft Teams. Having in mind that we had a difference, it was our Prague office working with Chicago, and then it was 4 p.m. here, they were just starting their work. They found a way, which I'm not able to lead a project and working with a customer constantly using Microsoft Teams. It's just not working for me. So, but these guys, well, somehow established it. another prototype on which we were working. To be honest, there was a game genre which I personally don't play, and it was really hard for me to work on it because I just was not able to understand the game. And then those guys started to work. They were using their own language because the game which we were playing, well, I'm under NDA, I'm not able to say any details, but the specific of the games and the words they were using there, we understand each other. I was not able to. Well, my point here, manager is not the guy who's always know how to do the things. Kind of like if we're looking for people, if we're hiring best people we can find, why we not let them to do their best?
So tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that the moral of your speech is leave the system be, leave the system alone, and manage the corner cases only.
Not really. Not really. Not really. But I think if you will give a freedom to people you work with, instead of constantly telling them what to do, and sometimes even how, you can get something really incredible. Because if I'm a guy who's telling to 30 people what to do, the maximum what we can do is to execute manual test cases. That's it. There is no progression. Because people will just, as a lead, I will be a dictator telling people what to do and how. But if you give them a little freedom, naturally, they will start to grow and looking for opportunities.
By freedom, you mean the time in their work day to do something besides the testing?
By freedom, I mean realizing that they have an opportunity to fail. They have an opportunity to make some decisions how to do the things right. It's like, for example, it's like with test cases. They were coming to me and asking how many test cases I should write for this feature. I don't know. How many do you think? For some features, you are not able to write test cases at all. You have to write user scenarios. And you're not able to pass them like a checklist. You have to execute, I don't know, a lot of movements. And I'm not able to tell the people how to do it. Another thing here, if you're telling people how to do, you can be in very silly situation when people come to you and telling you, I did as you said, I failed, this is your fault. Then you're putting people into a situation, they making decision how to do the things. They are responsible for this. If they succeed, their self-confidence grow.
Thanks.
All right. I guess we're done. Yeah, thank you for listening.